What's up, YouTube? PokePrimer here, prime and ready to deliver you week number 3 of the UPA Showdown Division here on the channel. We are off to a fantastic start this season. We are currently 2-0 plus 5 differential, so we are rocking it so far. But we can never take a break, never take an easy moment here, because you never know when you could finally come up against a game that's gonna break you. But this week we are taking on Cheezy and the New Jersey Jellicents. He's currently 0-2 minus 5, the exact opposite end of the spectrum from us, but that will never like be a deterrent for me putting in all my best work in prep wise against somebody. I will never look at someone's record and immediately say, "No, I'm not worried." So, because his team is actually really solid, even though he drafted like one of the on the lower end of like the mon number you can have, he still has a really solid squad. You can see on screen his squad consists of Dragapult, Mega Diancie, Heatran, Thunderous Therian, Galarian Slowking, Swampert, Obstagoon, Talonflame, and Serena. So he only has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 mons. So a lot less options for him to bring, which I think could potentially be part of why like he's not doing as great. But even still, the options he does have are all incredibly strong options. Like he has one Pokemon under 10 points, and it's Serena, which is a really solid mon. So he drafted like a top heavy as top heavy a squad as you can get. So, obviously, we know Dragapult, incredibly versatile mon, can do so many different things offensively that it's ridiculous. Mega Diancie, everyone knows, it's magic bounce, but it hits like a train. It's so hard to deal with. Heatran is bulky as hell, has an amazingly strong typing, good offensively, but also amazingly defensively. Also has things like Magma Storm, which can be very problematic. Thunderous Therian, Electric Immunity, which is never fun. Also, one of the hardest hitting special attackers in the game, one of the strongest electric types in the game. Followed, like, not far behind, or it's following not far behind our boy Xurkitree, so that's pretty cool. Galarian Slowking, kind of just slow, bulky Regenerator mon. Not as good as regular Slowking, in my opinion, but the potential to get like poisons and stuff, with, like sludge bombs and whatnot, is also problematic. Swampert has Flip Turn now, which makes it more of a threat, just because it can get that momentum constantly, set up rocks and stuff. Has that only one weakness, but it's one weakness that I believe we can exploit potentially. We have the Obstagoon. Guts allows it to be an absolute wall breaker. Defiant could also be something, but I doubt it. It's more likely going to be Guts against us. We'll see. Talonflame. Talonflame, if it's max HP, its flying moves are priority. If not, then it's not. It's not super strong. I don't really like Talonflame at all as a Pokemon, but it can be a little bit bulky if you build it in certain ways. So it can be a problematic Pokemon. Really depends on how you build it, I guess. And then you have Serena. Serena is a spinner. Serena hits decently hard. It's not the fastest thing in the world, but it also blocks priority, which can be problematic. It can be very annoying for us, so something to definitely keep in mind. But overall, it's a really solid team across the board. I really don't have any issues with it. I think it's good. I think it's really good, but hopefully our team is a little bit better. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into our roster. We are bringing, first and foremost, we are bringing Aoshi the Mamoswine. Aoshi is here with the Choice Scarf, Thick Fat Ability, Icicle Crash, Earthquake, Ice Shard, and Knockoff. So originally, when I was first building this, I only ran enough speed to outpace Heatran, but when I ran a few calcs, it just barely missed out on outspeeding max speed Dragapult with the Scarf. So this way we can this way we can go ahead and outspeed that too. So obviously anything that's Scarfed that's faster than Heatran, which, you know, things like, I don't think Obstagoon would be Scarfed. I don't think Talonflame would be Scarfed. Thunderous Therian could be Scarfed, but I don't think he would do that, especially when I have Mamoswine. I have ways of walling a lot of the things that Thunderous can go for. And I don't think he would run Scarf Dragapult. I don't think that makes any sense. So I don't see any things on his team that really, like, screams it could be a Scarfer, but I could see Scarf Thunderous Therian being, like, the most likely of all things. Maybe Scarf Heatran, but I don't think Scarf Heatran would do really well in this matchup either. So it's a tough one. It's a tough one. But Scarf Mamoswine, regardless. Icicle Crash kind of just runs his team. There are a few things on his team that aren't 2-hit KO'd by it, or that aren't 2-hit KO'd by Mamoswine in general. But just clicking Icicle Crash, Oko's Serena, unless it's like super bulky. 2-hit KO's bulkier Talonflame, the bulkier Talonflame set that's running around. Has a good chance to 2-hit KO Slowking. Doesn't 2-hit KO Swampert, but we have plenty of ways of dealing with Swampert, so I'm not worried about Swampert whatsoever. Oko's Thunderous, if it's not Yachi Berry. 2-hit KO's Mega Diancie, if it's already Mega Evolved. Don't have to Mega Evolve turn 1, so that's, I guess, the one saving grace for it, is that he can switch in non-Mega and take the hit. But also, are you switching in a Diancie on a Mamoswine when you could potentially see an Earthquake coming? I don't think so. And it also Oko's Dragapult. So, yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. It's pretty ridiculous how good this thing is against his team. And if we click Earthquake, like, yeah, you can dodge the Earthquake with either Thunderous or Talonflame, but that's if you predict it right, and you don't want to switch those in. So Earthquake does a little bit more Swampert, and has a chance to 2-hit KO Obstagoon. Obstagoon is not naturally 2-hit KO'd, but if it's a Flame Orb Guts version, the burn damage makes it so that things like Icicle Crash and Earthquake can guarantee 2-hit KO. So that's pretty cool. Thanks for the help, Obstagoon. Appreciate you. And Earthquake, obviously, like Oko's Heatran, Oko's Diancie, Oko's Slowking. Like, Mamoswine just kind of fucks his whole team up. The reason I packed Ice Shard is because I'm going to try to scout, obviously, damage-wise, see, like, what his team might be running. Scout and see if, like, Thunderous might be Scarfed, or if Dragapult might be Scarfed, or something along those lines. And having Scarf Ice Shard could allow us to pick off the Thunderous if it's Scarfed, or even if he has, like, Sucker Punch on Dragapult, we can try to scout for that. If he has Sucker Punch on Dragapult and we get kind of low with Mamoswine, having Scarfed Ice Shard would allow us to out-prioritize the Sucker Punch, because we would be faster than him. So Sucker Punch goes in the same priority bracket as Ice Shard, so we would hit him at the exact same time, which is nice. Or he would hit him right before he would hit us, so we'd be able to not only nullify Sucker Punch, but be able to get that Ice Shard damage off on him as well. So that's pretty nice. And then Knockoff is just kind of like early game kind of thing. We can kind of try to see what kind of switch-ins he wants to make to us and go from there. That could be really useful for us. It could also be fun if, like, he tries to switch in the Obstagoon and he loses his Flame Orb, or if he tries to switch in the Swampert, loses his leftovers or whatever on the Swampert, and then it just makes Swampert even easier for us to beat. So I debated trying to add Freeze Dry onto the moveset, but I didn't really think it was worth it, because then, like, if I predict Swampert coming in and I go for Freeze Dry, then that just makes me a lot easier to deal with things like Heatran and stuff. It allows Heatran to come in pretty freely. So I think this set's perfect for Mamoswine this week. It really could not be any better. Next up, we are bringing Yahiko the Zarude with the leftovers. I double checked and made sure that there was no rules about multiple items. We do have like 4 mons with leftovers right now as it stands, so might change that, might not. We'll see, but I doubt it. But we might change that. But leftovers, Leaf Guard, of course, for the ability because that's all he has. But moveset wise, we have Sub, Seed Bomb, Rock Slide, and Darkest Lariat. This was a case of 4 move slot syndrome if I've ever seen one. If I had a 5th move slot, I would this thing solos his team. But unfortunately, we don't. We have enough speed to outpace max speed Thunderous Therian. Then we just went with max attack, and then through the rest of the HP. Seed Bomb, I didn't want to go with the inaccuracy of Power Whip plus for the things we're trying to kill with Seed Bomb. We don't need Power Whip. Swampert gets OHKO'd by Seed Bomb. Mega Diancie gets OHKO'd by Seed Bomb, so that works out nicely. Darkest Lariat just kind of hits everything else. Darkest Lariat OHKO's the Dragapult as well, and the Slowking. And just kind of hits everything else, gets some good chip damage off. And I debated for the last slot between kind of 3 moves. Rock Slide was tossed around, Stomping Tantrum was tossed around, and Drain Punch was tossed around. Drain Punch was tossed around because it hits Heatran for super effective damage. A little bit of super effective damage. Not a lot, but a little bit. It does like 30-some%. If he's bulky, if he's offensive, it does a little bit more, but it's not a 2 KO at any point in time. But it is an OHKO on Obstagoon. So that was tossed around for that reason. But I determined that Seed Bomb can just, hit. I can just hit Obstagoon with Seed Bomb while we're behind the sub. So we'll go with that. I thought about Stomping Tantrum. But then I realized that I had to rely on Darkest Lariat to deal with Talonflame, so that's not fun. So I ended up lining on Rock Slide, because Rock Slide still hits Heatran neutrally. We also neutrally hit it with Darkest Lariat. So that's good. Rock Slide still hits Obstagoon neutrally, but Seed Bomb also does as well. So that's an option for that. And Rock Slide OHKO's Talonflame. And so as long as we can get behind a sub, which I think we can against things like Swampert, potentially against things like Thundurus. Depends on what kind of set he's running. He might have Sludge Wave, he might not. Well, we'll see. It also depends on things like Serena as well. But I doubt I can sub up on Serena. But if I can get a sub up, if I can force a switch on something, if I can get a sub up, I can put in a lot of work with this thing. It does really well against his team. Next up, we have Gine the Suicune, also rocking the leftovers with the pressure ability. Scald, Calm Mind, Rest, and Sleep Talk. Fully specially defensive Suicune. Yes, I recognize that this makes us a little bit more susceptible to Serena, but again, we have ways of dealing with Serena. I have a switch into Serena that's literally next in the lineup, so I'm not too worried about it. Plus, if we can potentially get a Scald off on it and burn it, then it makes that so much less of a problem. So that's fun. And Calm Mind just allows us to set up nicely, puts us in a good position against things like Dragapult, Mega Diancie, and Heatran. Pretty much lets us wall them. So that's really cool. Also, if we get a Calm Mind up, we're guaranteed not to KO by Thunderous Therian. We actually aren't guaranteed if he's not if he doesn't have a boosting item, he's just max special attack. It's not a guaranteed 2 KO right now. I think, if I remember correctly. So I think it's fine. So that's pretty cool. Love that. Suicune's so cool. I love Suicune. It's such a great mon. Yeah, just puts in a lot of work. Rest Sleep Talk is going to be really, really good because there's a lot of especially offensive mons that will chip this thing down. But like if we can get a Rest Sleep Talks off, get some Calm Minds up, and we can really mess this team up. Next up, we have Hajime the Magmar, Eviolite, Flame Body. We are running enough speed to outpace Heatran, with the Naive Nature, 132 special attack and 248 HP. This thing is a switch into Serena, because all of Serena's moves don't really do a lot to it, aside from like maybe high jump kick, which isn't that big of a deal. We have the Flame Body, which if we can get a burn on Serena, that just completely nullifies its existence, so that's pretty cool. We have Lava Plume just for stab. Hits things pretty hard. Potentially get a burn on something like Swampert, could be really nice. Scorching Sands does like 65 to 75% to Heatran, like a bulkier Heatran, which is nice. Actually, that's offensive Heatran, it does that too. Bulkier Heatran still does over half. We have Mach Punch. This is why I went with Naive. We have Mach Punch because not only does it allow us to pick off Heatran if it's really low, I think Scorching Sands into knockoff or Mach Punch actually has a chance to kill it. But Obstagoon, with all its burn chip damage and whatnot, we can pick that off late game as well. That's always pretty fun. So he might be able to go. He might go into Obstagoon thinking he's safe against Magmar to just kind of go for like a Facade or something late game if he's been chipped down for a little bit, and we just finish him off with a Mach Punch, and then all of a sudden that's one less Mon that we have to deal with. So that's pretty cool for Magmar. Then we have Shishio, the Xurkitree, and this is another interesting set because we don't really have a great switch-in to Thundurus Therian. This thing is a great switch-in to Thundurus Therian. Takes almost nothing from a lot of its attacks, especially its Electric-type moves, being specially defensive. Thunderbolt, Magnet Rise, Toxic Protect. Magnet Rise makes it so that we aren't really bothered by Swampert. You can go into Swampert, you can try to click Earthquake, but we're just going to click Magnet Rise in front of his face, and then he can't touch us. And we Toxic Protect and wear him down. And there's several mons that we can't really touch, that we just Toxic Protect down. Thundurus we can't touch, but we Toxic Protect it, and it's not like a big deal. Leftovers Recovery will pretty much gain all that back. Thunderbolt hits everything else on his team like neutrally, except for the Dragapult, which we can also have Toxic Protect down. So it's not that huge of a deal. And just overall, like, this set's going to be really annoying for him to deal with, and that's kind of the whole point. Because I just want Xurkitree to be annoying for him. So that's going to be fun. It's a really weird set. It's very different from anything I typically would run on Xurkitree, but I think it'll be really fun. I wonder if I can get away with Rocky Helmet on Suicune. I don't think so. Not in this matchup. Obstagoon does too much damage to justify the Rocky Helmet. Swampert. I guess we could do it for Swampert. Makes things a little bit easier against Swampert. Could also make Talonflame a little bit easier to deal with. Yeah, let's do that. We have the rest and stuff, so I'm not too worried about it. Plus, I don't want to run leftovers on everything. And then our last one, which is also running leftovers, which I don't think I'm changing, is going to be Megumi, the Komala, making its debut this week. Rapid Spin, Wish, Knockoff, Earthquake. We are running enough speed to outpace a min speed Heatran. So if he's running like a bulky Heatran, we'll be able to outspeed that. Rapid Spin will get us, get rid of any hazards he throws up against us. He has several Rock Setters. 3 to be exact, in Heatran, Diancie, and Swampert. So very good potential that rocks could show up. I actually think Heavy Duty Boots might be better, just in case. Heavy Duty Boots. Yeah, let's do that. 248 HP, 160 defense, Impish Nature. I threw it into defense, and I didn't mean for it to work out this way, but it worked out this way. That the defense and special defense are the same number. But I threw it into defense because this thing already has really good natural Spadef, and it tanks hits from things like Heatran pretty well. But now it allows it to take physical hits from Dragapult or like a Diamond Storm from Diancie decently well. Earthquake allows us to Oko Heatran and also do really good damage to Slowking. We have the Knockoff because Knockoff is just super important. Knockoff is going to be incredibly important in this game, kind of scout items and deal with a lot of stuff like that. So definitely going to be an exciting matchup, to say the very least. I'm excited for it. I hope you guys are too. We are going to hop into the battle right now and see if this team will pick us up a W. So let's go. Alright, guys, we are back finally once again with our UPA showdown battle for this week. This is week number 3. We are taking on Cheezy, aka Taj, and his New Jersey Jellicents. You saw from the team builder just now, why we're bringing it. He decided to bring the Dragapult, the Galarian Slowking, the Swampert, the Heatran, the Thundurus, Therian, and the Talonflame. So not really anything of too much surprise here. No Serena, which is really, really good for me. Because my real only way of dealing with Serena, especially its U-turning shenanigans, would have been to switch into Magmar. Magmar was literally only brought because of Serena potentially being a threat. So I'm really glad that that thing's not here. That's the one big standout Mon I'm happy I didn't see. But everything else, again, like, his team was really, really stacked. So I'm not, like, anything on his team could have come and it would have made sense. So really cool stuff. So going into this matchup, I was like looking at what he has. I don't really have a negative reason to not want to lead with. I believe I lead with Kamala here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. We're going to lead with Megumi the Kamala, making her, well, it's supposed to be her debut. We're just going to knock off this Swampert immediately. It does turn out to have the Rocky Helmet as he just sets up the rocks right in front of me. I'm going to throw up a Wish because obviously I have taken too much damage now at this point. And the Wish is up. He tries to go for a sub in front of me as I expect me to switch out. I'm just going to go straight for the knockoff. I wasn't sure if he was physical or special at this point, so I didn't have to worry about anything. I can just keep spamming the knockoff. I'm not going to let him get behind a sub in any universe. I'm just going to hit the Swampert with the knockoff on the switch in. Throw another Wish up as he hits me with an Earthquake, and that does way too much damage. So I'm going to switch out into my Suicune, tank that Earthquake, and then swallow up the Wish. Hit him with a Scald real quick and smack him with a Burn. Get nice and lucky there. I don't think it really matters here because obviously the flip turn takes more Rocky Helmet damage, and flip turn wouldn't have done much anyway. I go into my Xurkitree as he goes into his Thundurus. Xurkitree was my main switch into Thundurus as I built a especially defensive Xurkitree to kind of toxic stall it to death but he goes for the knockoff there as I just went for the toxic on his Galarian Slowking switch in, which is interesting. I go for the protect, kind of scout, but he makes a good play and goes for the Future Sight. I think it's a crit Sludge Bomb. I do 100% believe that Sludge Bomb crit mattered because I am fully specially defensive. So that's really unfortunate. I go into Zarude here because I want to make sure that Future Sight cannot do anything, and it also puts me in a position to threaten that Slowking. The Future Sight does come out, and I'm not affected by it, so that's cool. And he's going to stack the Swampert to the Darkest Lariat. So then I have to switch out into Suicune here on the Thundurus, as I'm expecting him to go for like the U-turn or something to try to take me out. He just goes for Sludge Bomb, which is fine. But then he switches out immediately because I switched into Magmar because it's more a little bit more of a specially defensive mon. So I was thinking, oh, that could be fine. Go for Scorching Sands. I believe that's one of my first Scorching Sands burns since the move has been introduced, so that's kind of cool. I'm going to go for it again here as he goes into the Thundurus, which is a good play. Obviously, nothing too crazy about that one. He's going to Volt Switch here and go out into Heatran. I played this one very poorly. I think this is like... We had some scheduling issues, so I was a little bit tilted. So I wasn't paying attention there really, and so I just clicked the Lava Plume. I definitely knew the Heatran coming in there, but that's fine. I go into my Kamala, and I reveal I am faster than this Heatran, so he's a bulky Heatran, and he has the Shuka Berry, so that's pretty cool. Fun fact, that Earthquake wouldn't have killed him if not for the Shuka Berry, even if he didn't have the Shuka Berry, which is kind of crazy. Go for knockoff here, because expecting him to switch, as I do catch the Thundurus, and Thundurus was scarfed. So that is good information for me. That means that my Choice Scarf Mamoswine can just go in. However, I expected him to switch here because I felt like Thundurus, even still, like losing its Scarf, had a lot of value left in this game. Like he had to bank hard on me not being Scarfed. Right? So I genuinely thought I saw Heatran coming in here. I saw maybe Slowking coming in here. Like, I saw a switch out 100% of the time. So I was like, Earthquake is fine. That hits either of those. I don't care if I'm locked into Earthquake. I'll switch, and I can re-lock into, like, Icicle Crash afterwards. No big deal. It's fine. But he just goes for the knockoff immediately and gets rid of my Scarf. So that is huge mispredict on my part. It does free me up to be able to go for the Icicle Crash now, but even still, I was like very much stressing. Like I had seen his whole moveset at this point, but I was still stressing because I wasn't sure what was going to happen. I'm going to go into Suicune on the Talonflame now and get that Rocky Helmet chip on it, which is always crucial. I'm just going to sack the Suicune here at this point. I had to go for, I think I went for like Ice Beam or something to make sure that he would not be able to get behind the sub. I don't remember if I had Ice Beam on this particular Suicune set, being completely honest. Actually, I think I just went for Calm Mind or Rest. I don't remember which one I went for. I think I went for Rest, but he killed me there. So I'm not going to let him get behind the sub. I'm just going to go for the Darkest Lair with my Zarude and just spam that shit. He Will-O-Wisps me, and he lives on 1, which really just kind of was like, no, why would you do that? Just fuck off. He Dragon Darts me, gets me down pretty low, but I'm able to take him out with a Rock Slide. I wasn't sure. I went for the Rock Slide because it covered him switching into Talonflame to take a Darkest Lair, potentially. Actually, he wouldn't switch into Talonflame at all there. Why would he do that? That makes no sense, but whatever. It's fine. I think it covered a little bit, would do more damage to the Thundurus or whatever. That works. That's my justification. Now I go into Mamoswine. It is 4-1. I can Ice Shard this thing, take out the Talonflame, so that's 1. That's 1. But Mamoswine's got 3 more mons to take out. Now that I know its moveset, this Thundurus is not a threat to me. So he goes for the knockoff, does a decent chunk of damage, but I'm able to take him out with the Icicle Crash. And then I realize, oh shit, I win. Unless this Slowking somehow turns out to be Shuckleberry, which it's not, dies to my Earthquake. We are good to go, and Mamoswine is going to clean up the team and pick up 4 freaking kills. This absolute madman. This absolute madman just came in here and was like, alright, bet. Killing this team. I called it in prep. I said Mamoswine was like was an insane threat against his team, and it shows here. This team just got melted by Mamoswine, and really cool, really cool stuff for us. So we are now 3-0, which is crazy to me. We're 3-0 here in the UPA, and next week we are taking on another 3-0 team. I genuinely, and I feel bad about it, genuinely, I do not know what their team name is. Off the top of my dome, I do not know what their team name is. I am sorry. I apologize. The Rhodes City Roselias. So, they are currently undefeated as well. They have an incredibly interesting looking team that I'm really looking forward to facing off against. So, this is going to be a lot of fun. Battle of the undefeated teams next week. We'll see if we can keep up the streak and keep that, keep our season going incredibly strong. So, thank you guys for watching. If you guys have enjoyed, make sure to leave a like down below and subscribe if you have not already. Until next time, I'm PokePrimer, signing off. Peace.